In the 16th century, Japan was a land consumed by fire and steel, where warlords known as daimyo carved out their destiny with blood. But amidst this brutal chaos, a new force was stirring. One that arrived not on the battlefield, but on the sails of foreign ships: Christianity. This is the story of Hosokawa Gracia, a woman whose life was a collision of these two worlds. Born into a samurai dynasty, she would become a Christian martyr. Her faith a shield against a fate she never chose. In 1563, she was born Tama to one of Japan's most feared generals, Akechi Mitsuhide, a brilliant but ruthless retainer of the demon king Oda Nobunaga. To understand Tama's story, you must first understand the concept of on, an all-encompassing sense of loyalty and obligation to one's lord. Mitsuhide owed his very existence to Nobunaga, a debt so profound it was considered sacred. Tama's childhood was spent under the shadow of this immense obligation, her life a silent pawn in the power plays of her father and his lord. She was raised in a world of strict etiquette, where her destiny was not her own, but a tool for her family's honor. At just 15, her fate was sealed. She was married to Hosokawa Tadaoki, a promising young warrior and heir to a powerful clan. It was a strategic alliance, a political chess move designed to strengthen the ties between their families. Yet their bond was different. Tadaoki, known for his intellect and appreciation of the arts, seemed to genuinely love her. He cherished her beauty and her gentle spirit, a rarity in an age of arranged marriages. But this fragile happiness was a delicate glass, beautiful to behold, yet ready to shatter at the first tremor of war. To understand the depth of their relationship, we must look at the culture of the time. While arranged marriages were the norm, Tadaoki went further, composing poetry for his wife and even defying his own father to protect her. This was not a cold political union, it was a rare and genuine connection in a brutal world. For a brief, shining moment, it seemed that Gracia had found a sanctuary, a quiet corner where she could be more than just a political tool. But the peace was an illusion, her father's immense debt of on to Nobunaga, while a source of his power was also a ticking clock, and its final toll was about to change everything. They were a golden couple, their future seemingly secure. But little did they know, their shared destiny was built on a foundation of betrayal. The man who gave her life would soon commit an act that would plunge Japan into chaos and brand his daughter with a name she could never escape. On a fateful day in 1582, the world of Hosokawa Gracia came crashing down. Her father, Akechi Mitsuhide, did the unthinkable. He betrayed his lord, Oda Nobunaga, attacking him at Honnoji Temple and forcing the Demon King to commit suicide. This act, known as the Honnoji Incident, sent shockwaves across Japan, marking Mitsuhide as a traitor and ushering in a brutal civil war. Tama's father was no longer a brilliant general, he was the kaiko, the traitor, and by association, so was she. The consequences were immediate and catastrophic. Her husband, Tadaoki, was placed in an impossible position. To show loyalty to his new lord, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, he was forced to take a public stand against his own wife. He sent her away to a secluded estate in the mountains, a virtual prisoner. She was not allowed to see her children or even receive visitors. It was here, in her isolation and despair, that she encountered a new kind of freedom, the words of the Christian faith. Secretly, her handmaiden, a Christian convert, would speak to her of a God who offered unconditional love and salvation, a radical notion in a world of conditional loyalty. This was her lifeline in the midst of a personal shipwreck. Fascinated by this new perspective, Tama, who had lost everything, found a glimmer of hope. She sent a secret message to a Christian priest asking to be baptized. But her husband, fearful of the political backlash, forbade her from converting. Her heart was torn between her husband's demands and the spiritual calling that offered solace. This was a battle for her soul, fought in the silence of her lonely room. For the first time in her life, she was choosing her own destiny, not for her family's honor, but for her own salvation. Her father's betrayal had stripped her of her home and her name, but her isolation gave her something she never had before, the space to think for herself. She read the forbidden texts and listened to the whispered prayers, finding a sense of purpose beyond the feudal system she had been born into. She was no longer just Tama, the daughter of a traitor. She was an individual on a spiritual quest. Yet, her husband's prohibition was a chain as strong as any iron bar. She was spiritually free, but physically still a prisoner of her husband's world. She was denied baptism, her spiritual quest left unfulfilled. But a new danger loomed. Tadaoki was called to war, and Gracia, now a pawn in a new political game, was left alone with her burgeoning faith. What would happen when a world of swords and power learned of the Christian God she secretly worshipped? With Tadaoki away at war, Gracia found a way to act. In 1587, she secretly traveled to the city of Osaka to meet with a Jesuit priest. Disguised and hidden from the public eye, she was baptized and given the name Gracia, meaning grace in Latin. She returned to her estate a changed woman, no longer just a pawn, but a person with a conviction that transcended the power of warlords. But this newfound faith was a dangerous secret. It put her and her family in direct opposition to the growing anti-Christian sentiment of Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Hideyoshi, the new unifier of Japan, grew increasingly suspicious of Christian loyalty, fearing it would threaten his authority. He issued an edict to expel all missionaries. Gracia's faith was a direct challenge to his power and a potential death sentence for her and her family. She lived under constant threat, her every move scrutinized. Her faith was not a simple belief. It was a political statement, a quiet rebellion against the feudal system that had stolen her life from her. She had been born into a world of forced loyalty, and now, for the first time, she was loyal to a power greater than any samurai lord. When Tadaoki returned, he was enraged. He was a man of the samurai code, a world where faith and loyalty were given to one's lord. Gracia's conversion was not just a spiritual act, it was an act of defiance and a grave political risk. In a fit of rage, he ordered her to renounce her faith. She refused. Their relationship, once a rare love story, was now a battle of wills between a husband bound by feudal law and a wife strengthened by divine law. Their home, once a sanctuary, became a battlefield where an invisible war was being fought for her soul. Tadaoki, torn between his love for his wife and his loyalty to his lord, threatened to kill her. But she did not flinch. Her faith had given her a courage that was stronger than her husband's threats, a peace that transcended the violence of the age. She was prepared to die for her belief. This was a turning point. Her faith had transformed her from a passive pawn into an active participant in her own life, a woman of unyielding conviction. She had been given the name Gracia, and she would prove herself worthy of it. The power struggle reached a boiling point. The lords of Japan began to choose sides, preparing for a war that would decide the fate of the nation. Gracia, a mother of four and a devout Christian, was once again caught in the middle. Her husband would soon choose a side, and with that choice, her destiny would be sealed forever. How would a Christian noblewoman survive the coming storm, and what ultimate sacrifice would she have to make? The year is 1600. The great powers of Japan were divided into two opposing forces, one led by Ishida Mitsunari and the other by Tokugawa Ieyasu. This conflict would culminate in the decisive Battle of Sekigahara. Gracia's husband, Hosokawa Tadaoki, sided with Ieyasu. This made her a valuable hostage. Mitsunari, in a desperate attempt to force Tadaoki's loyalty, sent his soldiers to capture Gracia. But Gracia was not a woman to be taken. Tadaoki had left strict orders. If his wife was ever threatened by capture, she was to be killed to preserve her honor and prevent her from being used as a bargaining chip. As Mitsunari's soldiers stormed the Hosokawa mansion in Osaka, Gracia was confronted with a final, impossible choice. Her husband's orders were clear: death over dishonor. But as a Christian, she was forbidden from suicide, a fundamental act of faith. Her loyal retainer, a Christian convert named Ogasawara Shosai, understood her dilemma. The retainer, following Tadaoki's orders but respecting Gracia's faith, killed her to prevent her capture. It was an act of tragic loyalty, a testament to her husband's samurai code and her own unwavering Christian belief. Gracia's death was not in vain. Her refusal to be taken as a hostage had a profound impact. Upon hearing the news, the other daimyo wives who had also been targeted for capture were rescued by Ieyasu's forces. Her sacrifice strengthened Ieyasu's position, galvanizing his allies and weakening Mitsunari's. At the Battle of Sekigahara, Ieyasu's forces would emerge victorious, and his victory would mark the beginning of the long-lasting Tokugawa shogunate. Her final act, one of both loyalty and defiance, had a ripple effect that changed the course of Japanese history. Her death sent a powerful message. Even a woman, a pawn in the grand game of power, could choose her own end. Her refusal to be an instrument of her enemies was a final, brilliant act of rebellion. Her life, once controlled by the men around her, was hers to the very end. Gracia's life was a tragic paradox: a daughter of a traitor, a wife of a samurai, and a martyr for her faith. She died not on the battlefield, but in her own home, a casualty of a war she never chose. But her death would become a legend, a testament to her strength and a warning. What would become of the Christian faith she died for in the coming centuries, and how would her story be remembered? The life of Hosokawa Gracia, though cut tragically short, offers a powerful and profound series of lessons for us today. Her story is a timeless exploration of what it means to live with conviction in a world of conflicting loyalties. As a woman of the samurai class, she was born into a world of unyielding rules and expectations. Her life was a canvas painted by the men around her: her father, her husband, and the powerful warlords of her time. Yet, she found a way to transcend that destiny. Gracia's journey from Tama to Gracia is a masterclass in resilience and inner strength. In a society where her honor was tied to her family's name, she found a higher purpose. She was a woman who lost everything: her family, her name, her children, yet found herself through her faith. Her story is a stark reminder that true strength isn't always found on the battlefield with a sword, but often in the quiet, steadfast refusal to compromise one's core beliefs, even when faced with the ultimate sacrifice. She chose death over violating her faith's prohibition on suicide, a powerful statement that loyalty to God transcended the demands of her husband's samurai code. But Gracia's legacy is not just one of tragedy, it is also one of influence. Her death became a powerful symbol for the Christian community in Japan, and a cautionary tale for the Tokugawa shogunate. Her story serves as a mirror, reflecting the eternal struggle between personal conviction and societal pressure. It asks us to consider, what are we willing to sacrifice for what we believe in? How do we find our own identity when the world tries to define us? Gracia's life teaches us that even in the most tragic of circumstances, one person's quiet rebellion can have an impact that reverberates through centuries. Hosokawa Gracia, a woman, a martyr, a legend. Her legacy is a testament to the fact that even a firefly, in its brief flickering light, can illuminate the profound truth of the human spirit. Her life, though marked by immense sadness, offers an enduring message of hope and strength. She was not just a historical figure, but a beacon for all those who seek to find meaning and purpose in the face of overwhelming odds. Her story is a timeless reminder that our choices, no matter how small they seem, can have an extraordinary impact on the world around us. And that sometimes the greatest act of rebellion is simply to be true to oneself.